If I asked you to identify what are some of the key elements that makes this a successful professional learning community team, what would those be?
But I think really it's having all of these people working together, and it's taken us about 3 years, but it's to have all of these different expertise along with classroom teachers. I mean, before that, especially in working with younger children like this in early intervention, it's impossible for one person with all of these children, 2 full classrooms, to achieve this kind of growth, because you just can't be in these different places at different times. And to have all of these professionals working together, it's really the way education should be.
I'd say definitely try to use the data to analyze it and really focus in on skills that we see certain groups of students need, whether it be the enriched part or the sort of intervention.
I also think that one thing that this group has that works in its favor is trust and respect for each other.
That's really important.
Yes, it's very important. And
can you say,
has that.
not that to be hitting the obvious, but can you say why you think that's so important for a team like this in terms of success?
Well, first of all, there's no resentment. Everyone is allowed to, give suggestions, and the suggestions are taken because we respect each other, and we might have various ways of introducing the material in our classrooms, but we know that, and truly believe that everything everyone has to say is important and will help us.
One thing I really appreciate is that each of us has different strengths as teachers.
And we're willing to help each other out, to share information, to share ideas, and everyone, usually, like I said, like we've said, accepts other people's ideas even if they're different.
It's nice to talk about what has worked and what hasn't worked. We're very open with each other about, well, we tried this, and we had this in our last unit where Casey and I taught a unit completely different, and for me, I had some interesting results, but we were open enough to share and say, this worked for me, but it didn't work for someone else, and we learn from each other about what is good for our students.
And usually most people had something to follow up on, so it didn't just fall on 1 or 2 people's shoulders. It really seemed like it was a group effort, which is positive.
We know that the other will follow through if we give them a task to do. We are able to communicate well. Anything else?
I was going to say communication is very important, that we work well, we communicate our needs and what needs to be done. And like Rebecca said, the follow-through is always there, that you can trust your teammate to do their part.
Just because we're willing to do similar things in the classroom and then compare student achievement.
If you had one piece of advice that you could give to a team, a professional learning community team that was either a new team or a struggling team, what would that piece of advice be?
I would say have an agenda for what you're doing and what you want to accomplish. Keep your goal in mind, or your goals in mind, and be sure that what you're doing is working towards those. And if you're lost, get some help.
And how did you make up your norms? Did you do that when you first started? You got together and you said, these are the things we want to, the way we want to work together?
Yes. And I think what we did was we thought about when you're collaborating with a group, we actually started in the negative. What are some things you see that you don't like, or what are some real pet peeves of yours? And I think that just made us all comfortable putting it out on the table, and then refining from there, I think is.
How would you say that a SMART goal has impacted the way your team works?
Our SMART goal was to have a 0.9 letter sound correct growth rate this year, because we started, our whole goal when we started was because we were at a 0.4. We moved from the 0.4, the next year we were at a 0.7. We still weren't satisfied, so this year we wanted a 0.9, which was the target range, and that's what we were celebrating, because again this year we've improved. Our improvement rate was 0.8.
Why we chose what we chose, because I...
Which is right on the SMART goal.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically it boils down to, we looked at the exam results, found that most of the ones the kids got wrong was because it didn't have a diagram. We didn't know whether or not it was because they didn't draw a diagram or they drew an incorrect diagram or they just labeled it incorrectly. It's just all we could really see was that there wasn't a diagram. So that's what we focused our attention on.
I think, like you said, I think we've done a good job at stressing that drawing diagrams, drawing diagrams, drawing diagrams. Now that they're drawing them, how can we get them to be more accurate?
How do you gather data? Do you use any type of common assessments, or could you speak to that a little bit?
And something this team did that I hadn't done in my previous team, they had brought up right at the beginning how they share all the data with the students. So we, and I started doing that, and I think that has made a very big influence on all of the kids when they can see their graphing.
She went on the A from a 55 up to a 76, and in between had a 70. So, so this is one you look at and you go, great, this is where we want to be, this is what we're looking at. But I'm also kind of telling the kids what they did too at the end, because they're taking this and going, I really have no idea what this is all about, and I tell them, don't take this number as a grade, right? I said, take it just as a number. You got a 55, that's it. Now you got a 70, then you got a 76. So improve.
Two huge ways that we use it. Every unit test, we go through and look at each class's test scores, and we have a program called Mathmania, which is an after-school review program. So we go through, look at each of our, group of students, and if we see, these 5 students really struggled, we get together and we each teach one day and review. So that's one way that we use.
And we use common assessments.
Right, common assessments.
You do use common assessments.
Yeah, we agree that that's our, we chose to do that. So for each unit, we, in our PLC time, design our unit test together before, before the unit, so we know where we're going. So all of the 7th grade students in this building take the same unit test.
What would you say is the most satisfying aspect of being a part of a collaborative effort like this?
It's exciting to see all kids across the board get the level of instruction that they need. High, low, medium, whatever it is. They're all being taken in and moved at their level, in math and ELA, now in science. With the play with social studies even, I think, and we're finding skills that maybe we didn't know some of them had. But to be able to reach and differentiate even more just because we have sheer power in 3 rather than 1.
The thing that was most important for me personally was to get past that idea that I needed to have all of the answers, that I had to have everything figured out. If a person comes in, because that's the way a lot of teachers are trained, you close your door and you're in charge of that space, and if you can't do it alone, there's something wrong with you. That's been a learning process for me, to find out that I don't need to have all of the answers, and that it's okay to ask my colleagues for help and support. And I think if you go into your PLC with that attitude and that openness, the other details will fall into place.
I think I've grown as a professional because I think I've been able to interact and have great collegial conversations with people. Because everyone has a sphere of influence, has something they're really good at, and they're able to bring that to the table. So I become a better teacher because I learn what they're good at, and they share that with me.
I've learned a lot. Just when I thought that I knew so much, I learned so much more. And that's a neat thing to be able to say after almost 20 years of teaching.
So would you say then that there's a benefit to a collaborative approach where you're being able to get the benefit of other people's perspectives?
Absolutely. I don't really see how you could do this by yourself because nobody has all the answers.